You hold the record for the Cannonball Run. In this?
In that.
Okay, is this what made you famous? How's it going?
How are you? Welcome to my house.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Daily Driven Exotics.
Yo.
Dave and I are no longer in Texas. Well, I'm sure you knew that from the last video, our little flight over here. We said we were coming to meet this gentleman, and here we are at his humble abode / castle.
Welcome to Atlanta.
Welcome to Atlanta. I don't know if everyone knows Ed Bolian is the man behind Vinwiki, the YouTube channel, and the app, but also that Ed has like his own crazy car stories, and very specifically around the Cannonball Run record. He's the record holder. We're gonna get into all that. But as soon as we came here, I was like, can you open up your garage? Because you got some cars in here that DDE fam would love to see. And one of them is very special. In fact, shout out to my friend, the Stradman, James. Guess what Ed's got in his garage? Yeah, you guessed it. A 360 Challenge Stradale. Now, not your car.
No, it's not. I'm just babysitting it for a friend. It's actually a good friend of mine from Tennessee, and I sold him a whole bunch of cars while I worked at Lamborghini Atlanta, and it needed some service work, so it's been here for a couple of months. This is obviously the race version of the road version of the race version of the car.
And what makes this car really special, from my understanding, is they took the race car and made it a road car. Whereas the newer, like the 430 Scuderia and the 458 Speciale and the Pista are road cars that they added some race parts to. Is that correct?
Yeah, generally they took what they did here and they've replicated it since, because it does a great job of boosting sales towards the end of the runs for the mid-engine V8 cars. And so obviously they had a ton of challenge parts left over, and they just put them into the road car, and they made a limited version run back in 2004. And they sold really well at a pretty strong premium. Generally, the overage that we saw in the 360 market around 2004 was reflected in the MSRP of this car. So base on a 360 was about 160 grand. These were about 200, 210, depending on the options, whether you got the stripe and the painted calipers and shields and everything else. But it's amazing. It's a fantastic car to drive. Very raw. Obviously, as they age, we get tired of the single clutch gearboxes, and that affects a ton of 2000s exotics, but this one still is very much worth it in terms of being able to drive it.
About the 360, I think like this is, to me, this is an old Ferrari now. Right. Like there's many variations that have come since this car, yet I'm noticing this car's got ceramic brakes.
Yes.
Is this one of the first?
This was the first car they were standard on for Ferrari. The Ferrari made ceramic brakes standard on everything except the 612 in 2008, and then the California was the first car that everyone made had them.
He has, by the way, and beyond like this insane amount of knowledge when it comes to cars, the manufacturers, numbers. He's who did a whole video on the rarity of the manual LP640, really brought it to light, and knows, because you're in the car business, you're I don't want to get it wrong, is it a broker? You're a broker?
I was a dealer for a while.
A dealer.
Yeah.
So
now
anyhow,
I try not to broker cars, but I have to sometimes. Yeah.
You have to sometimes. And congrats to all your success. It's amazing. We got here and went, Dave and I both got here, didn't we not? And looked at each other and went, he makes all this happen from one room while we're running around with a camera like chickens with their heads cut off. I was like, he's definitely smarter than me. In a lot of ways.
Driven Estrella?
I have not.
Well, would you like to?
What should I say, Dave?
Yes.
May I say yes?
You may.
That's stock?
It is stock.
That is way better sounding than a Scud.
Yeah.
Now, you driving or am I driving?
You'll drive this one.
You want? We can switch. Come on, let's go. Ed said have fun. He seems like a fun guy. This is as raw as Ferrari made it during this era. So, carbon fiber door panels, all Alcantara for the dash.
The Enzo and this both have a race button, which is exciting, but it'll just really quicken your gear shifts. This doesn't have an adjustable suspension. ASR is automatic stability control. You can turn that off.
What is LC?
Launch control. However,
you don't want to do that.
On a 360, that has a very fixed number of clutch tolerance.
It's like the Scud too.
Yeah, so don't do that.
No, I like how they did ASR with the line through
That's
it.
right. Like it's like don't do drugs, don't do ASR.
Don't do it. So we are in a 360 Challenge Stradale, my very first one. Thank you to Ed and the owner of this car. Now he said, this is a race car and it's got a race button. And he said, just adds a little extra oomph to the shifts. So right here, oh, it says race on the dash now, and then no ASR, like don't do drugs. So let's hit that. We'll see what happens. And then we're gonna take this thing for a little cruise. So we're just gonna go up here for a second. Seems like a decent stretch of road to kind of stretch his legs. It's cool.
That sounds great.
It sounds great. It's got that Ferrari V8 sound. You guys will hear it right here. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Feels like a race car. This thing's impressive. It's tight, really tight. Steering's really responsive. This car, when it first came out, must have just been like blowing people's minds when they drove it. You want to try driving it for a sec?
Yeah, I'll drive it. It sounds, reminds me of the Scud. I mean, it's not quite the same, obviously, but it has that same round.
It's pretty cool.
It feels like a race car. Like
It
the
does.
Floor, like look at my feet. I got a battery right here, and a fire extinguisher, and metal.
Let's hope we don't have to use the fire extinguisher. You ready?
Oh yeah. Actually, you know what's funny? Speaking of that, I never drove the Scud because, again, in Canada, we have those weird insurance laws.
Yeah.
So I've never driven. I've driven a Ferrari before. I've driven an FF. That's the only Ferrari I've ever driven.
You've never driven any of the lightweight models.
No.
This is Dave's very first lightweight special model that he's ever driven.
That single clutch. What? I love the single clutch. It's so raw.
It is raw.
Just like our friendship. That's pretty cool. Man, you know, here's the problem though.
What?
Every time we drive another car, our list gets longer. So
Yeah, but we can't add this to the list.
why?
Because our boy James. You can't get a Stradale before James, the Stradman, gets a Stradale.
Well, James, why haven't you gotten one yet?
Oh! Why don't we get him to buy this one?
Let's call him.
Let's pull over and call James.
What's up?
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Are you?
Long time no talk.
I know. Now, I don't want to take up much of your time. I know you're a busy man. But I
Very good to you know me.
had something I had to share with you. So,
Okay.
I flew to Atlanta to meet Ed Bolian. Ed Bolian gave me a car to drive.
Okay. Oh, I see poor connection. Wait, it's red. It's all blurry though, isn't it? It's a Challenge Stradale.
It's a Challenge Stradale!
It's sick. Whoa. I got another GD family member right here.
What's going on?
Hi, Amelia!
So, David, I have never driven a Challenge Stradale in my entire life.
You have not?
Enjoy it. Enjoy it. I've never driven one. Enjoy it. Enjoy it for me.
I've never driven one, Dave's never driven one, and we finally all just got together and we're all sharing in this together.
Oh, dude, enjoy it. I'm jealous. Come visit me too.
I'm gonna come visit
February.
you. We're gonna get
This
snow
month, promise?
tires on the cars and we'll come to Utah.
Yes, Yes. My snow tires just arrived today in Utah. They're getting mounted tomorrow.
Hey, congrats. Well, hey, thank you for taking the time to say hi, saying hi to the vlog. You guys go check out James's channel if you haven't already. Probably subscribe to him. And yeah, I'm just gonna steal this car and I'm gonna bring it to you.
Okay, sounds good, my man. See you, Damon. Have a good one.
Take care, guys. That was fun.
Yep.
Little jaunt in the 360 Stradale just to get things warmed up.
Yeah, red Ferrari definitely stands out in the crowd.
Well, actually, it's a little more orange than normally the normal Rosso Corsa red. This is called Rosso Scuderia, which is a little bit more orange. That's the color they used to paint the Formula One cars, or wrap the Formula One cars.
Oh,
so
right.
that they would look red on television.
Really?
Yes.
So this is that color.
If you parked it next to a Rosso Corsa car, it would look quite orange.
What'd you think of the experience?
Oh, it's a beautiful vehicle.
It's only the second Ferrari he's ever driven. What's the story with the Porsche?
So I bought this car a few months ago. It was really cheap on Renlist, which is a popular Porsche message board. Somebody had posted it, and the guy was kind of freaked out selling it, and he advertised it way too cheap. It was the first person to respond saying, I will take it at your asking price, no PPI, and I'll wire money or come tomorrow, whatever you want. And so, honorable guy, he ran down the list. I responded to answer the phone when he called, and he agreed to sell it to me. And when I got it, I mentioned the possibility that we might give it away when we hit 1 million subscribers. We're at about 620, 625 now, so that would probably be late this year, give or take, with the way it grows. And so
if I get you to 1 million, you just give it to us right now?
I think that'd work.
Rhymes.
Bribes. It's a really cool car.
It is a great car. It's one of those just very pleasant, pure cars to drive, very analog. It's obviously the last generation of the air-cooled 911s, and it's really just a Carrera, but it's all rebodied as an RS. So it's got the wing.
Saw the badging on the
That's
back.
it. And normally I'd pull it off, but I haven't decided what I want to put on it instead. I actually want to just take it off to here and just put car. It's a car. If somebody needs to
That
know,
would be brilliant.
that's what it is. And so if it were a real RS, it would not have a sunroof and it'd be a 3.8 rather than a 3.6. It's got the full RS interior done with the door cards and the shifter and the steering wheel.
You hold the record for the Cannonball Run, which is give me the basics. I honestly don't know everything. Real quick, Cannonball is
It's the cross-country race from New York to Los Angeles.
New York to Los Angeles, and you've done it in 28
hours and 50 minutes.
And what's it normally supposed like if you were to put
Google
in
would say 42 hours.
42 hours?
Yeah. With no stops.
In this?
In that.
Okay, is this what made you famous?
I hope I'm not famous, but whatever fame I have, I suppose, is generally attached to this car.
Yeah, because this is your, I guess, claim to fame
I suppose
on
you
some
could say
level
that, yeah.
for this stuff.
For sure, yeah. So this is the 2004 Mercedes CL55 AMG that in 2013 we set the New York to LA Cannonball record in.
Is that a lot of prep?
Oh yeah, yeah. I planned it for about 10 years. I really decided I was going to do it in 2004.
Did you just say 10 years?
The Cannonball Run is not just a 1980s goofy movie with the Rat Pack in it. It's actually a real race that happened 5 times in the 1970s from New York to Los Angeles. Kind of no rules, do what you want. And it was sort of in protest of fuel regulations and the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit and just general automotive law. Brock Yates, who was a writer for Car and Driver at the time, was quite the libertarian, and he decided that he and his friends knew better and they could go out and drive real fast. We did it in a one-off sort of time trial, and it worked out pretty well.
Dare I ask?
So, because of the 2 large extra fuel cells that are in the trunk, we couldn't have the spare wheel in the trough that it normally has under the trunk floor. So the spare wheel and tire set right there.
Oh, so that's rubber
tire.
and mess
Yeah,
and...
because I left it in there for a few years afterwards without moving it, and I probably should have moved it. So we have 3 radar detector systems and 2 forward-facing, 1 rear-facing.
So these 2 up at the top.
And then I actually ran a Valentine one the other way, mounted to the rear.
Okay.
Eventually we got interference from that in Ohio, so we turned the rear one off. 2 navigation screens up here. We had 2 more mounted in the back.
Light camera ahead.
Well, everything still works.
Yeah, most of it does still work.
It's talking to us.
The police scanner we programmed for the entire country, and we put all of it on one bank, which was a mistake because it all fit. We thought that'd be okay, but it didn't scan fast. Generally, the goal is for the driver only to pay attention to the act of driving, not to worry about navigation, not to worry about cops, just to worry about going as fast as the car can go every moment of the drive. So the passenger is required to monitor the directions that need to be followed, watch the apps for your phone. We had Waze and Trapster back then. Nokia had since shut Trapster down, run the CB, run the police scanner and things like that, and just tell you what to do. So the dialogue was very, mission oriented. It wasn't like we didn't play the radio or look at anything else. It was really about, all right, you've got an opening here, you got the car 3 links ahead that you can pass to go this way. Nothing on the scanner, nothing on Waze, nothing on Trapster. Keep going. You got a little bit more speed to go, whatever, and let you know when you're clear to merge, so you're not having to check blind spots and stuff like that. So it's really just telling you, rally driver style, exactly what to be doing. Yeah, so that was a 100.3 mile an hour moving average, which was 98 when you account for the 46 minutes that we spent stopped. We had 3 fuel stops, and there were 9, 12, and 7 minutes, and then we had to stop a couple of times to add oil, and then we did roadside driver changes. We had facilities on board to relieve ourselves, but we didn't use any of those, so we just would be on the side of the road and check in.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So you don't just get in a car and go, okay, let's go real fast.
This thing right here, it looks like a light. On the other side, it's like an LED.
It is, yeah, it's LEDs, and so there's a button here to actuate it, and you just press and hold it, and it'll pulse. So you've always heard the rumors that if you flash your high beams at a traffic light that's red, it will turn green.
Yes.
And it would be completely random that the frequency that you used was correct, but it's possible. It's the pulsation of light at a diode there. So yeah, it can happen. But generally, this is much more scientifically arranged. It's called a MURT. Honestly, it's a lot less dramatic than you'd expect it to be. I mean, we were driving really, really fast. We only encountered about 5 speed traps, and we predicted all but 1. We came up on one that I'd seen, and Dave, my co-driver, was driving, and I saw him. He was about, a quarter mile ahead. I'm like, brakes, 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 and he's like, oh yeah, I see him braking up there. I was like, no, there's a cop, and he just hammers on him. But at that point, we're passing him at about 130 miles an hour, and fortunately, he was just sitting in the median looking at his computer. So I don't know what recently updated pornography site we have to thank for that near miss, but it was something. So
amazing.
Yeah, that was as close as we came. The only near accident that we really had is along a long line of tractor trailers, and one of them pulled out in front of us. It was a FedEx truck. If any tractor trailer ever tries to kill you, it's more than likely going to be a FedEx truck. And he couldn't have seen me coming as fast as we were, because when you've got this bright light in front of you and you look into your mirrors, you can't really see because the contrast is just so different.
Right.
And so he comes out, and I blast past him at about 135, 40 miles an hour, and I had to put 2 wheels in the median, but it was smooth enough. It wasn't that big of a deal. Dan and Dave both thought we were absolutely going to die, but it was rather undramatic. We just corrected. Went right back up. As we kind of blasted out of New Jersey and into Pennsylvania, we were hitting 140, 50 miles an hour in each of the straights, and it was the first time that Dan, who was our navigator that was in the back, spoke up at all. And he said, are we seriously going to drive like this the whole time?
Really?
Yeah. And we're like, yeah, Dan, that's the idea. And so he said, holy cow. And we did. We went literally as fast as the car would go every moment.
Wow. Now, could it be done in a supercar?
Obviously, it was set several times in supercars of the day. So yes, there is a precedent that it can be done. You couldn't carry nearly as much fuel as we had, which would be a factor. Like you couldn't necessarily, you couldn't get the range that we had. This car will go a little over 850 miles on a tank of gas. But yeah, I think it can be done.
Huh. All right, let's get out of the car. I'm gonna think about that.
Your spare would be down here, and obviously we can't get to it. So we just did 2 additional 22-gallon cells with transfer pumps wide together and it just ran through this, and then we had a different gas cap that we would just route it through. Since then, on the S-Class that we did afterwards, there was, what we did is we hung the spare like a truck, like under it. And so we cut out the trough and used that as kind of the cap. And so if we had to get the spare out, we could do that. So that allows you to have the full back seat, which is much better quality of life as you do this.
Wow. You guys, we are in the home duplicated studio of Vinwiki. We can't show, the other place is undisclosed. However, I want to know what all this hoarding's all about. Ed, what is all this junk? Just joking. Must have a lot of personal.
Yeah, the most of it has some real meaning to it. We're actually in a room above my garage. I duplicated our studio here, and all of it really does have some meaning. I've got a plaque from the Cannonball Memorial Run that we do every year to raise money for the families of fallen officers. This is the oil pan to my original Gallardo. It was rented on a long-term basis to a guy in Florida, and he just did donuts in a Lamborghini all the time. I can't imagine what moron would do that. But it blew a hole in the right here and out the side of both sides of the block. So this is not supposed to be see-through right here. This is the trophy you win if you win the 2904. Technically, it's now held by Arnie Toman because he won last year, but he brought it back and I've been babysitting it for him. And every time you win, you have to add something to it. So when I won it, it was just this part, and I added the extra things and made it taller.
And you got all this stuff up top.
Yeah, and you add your key. So these are the keys of all the cars that have ever won the 2904.
Explain real quick. Okay. 2904.
So there's really two modern interpretations of Cannonball. There's the idiots like me that just go out and see how fast we can do it. And then there are some organized races, but they all have a significant constraint. So the 2904 is a $1 per mile budget run from New York to initially San Francisco. It's 2,904 miles to San Francisco. So you had to buy a car, prep it, and you could only do safety related repairs beyond $2,904. And so we did it in 2015 for the first time. They thought they had stopped doing it, but they heard about our run and they asked if I'd come out and do it. And we bought a 12 owner, 2 accident salvage title S55 AMG from a lady on Craigslist, Las Vegas. And we won within 32 hours and 5 minutes. And we added our key to its trophy.
That's very cool. Thank you for sharing all these stories and giving a little behind the scenes of the Vinwiki studio. You've got a ton of stories. There's stuff that there's so much that we've been doing so much even off camera.
Vinwiki car stories merch for you.
Hey, there you go.
Bam. It'd be funny.
Links in his description.
In his description. All right, got the thumbnail.
Excellent. Thumbnail check.
Thumbnail, you're gonna look
What's your clickbait title?
I met the fastest, richest man in America. Because you're gonna look really. This is like a poster. This is like a poster right here. It looks like we're at like a castle with we're like 2 cars short of the higher education poster.